Hello, I'm Emma Humphrey of Genius. This is a whistle-stop tour of the slides I was supposed to present at the Stronger Together get-together. Creativity and Cold Hard Cash, the Business Owner Edition. So, whether you think you're a creative or not, creativity is worth having a think about because anybody can learn to be a creative. What is creativity anyway? Harvard Business Review defines creativity as divergent thinking, namely the ability to find unusual or non-obvious solutions to a problem. Creativity makes money. You want me to prove it? Thought so. So, sticking with Harvard Business Review because it's a pretty credible publication, they had a look at creative ad campaigns versus non-creative campaigns, and they found that €1 invested in a highly creative ad campaign had, on average, nearly double the sales impact of €1 spent on a non-creative campaign. The impact of creativity was initially relatively small, but typically gathered momentum as the campaign rolled out. So it's worth sort of bearing in mind that your amazing creative idea might not necessarily have an immediate, wow, there's shitloads of leads when yesterday there were none type impact. You have to stick with it for a while. In his book, The Case for Creativity, James Herman found that the Cannes Advertiser of the Year from 1999 to 2015 outperformed the S&P 500 by a factor of 3.5. That's pretty impressive. I mean, they're already pretty impressive businesses making quite a lot of money. And yet, the most creative advertiser still did 3.5 times as better as well. Next example was from Nielsen. I really wanted to be able to show you guys this because this was a sort of good diagram to give you an idea of what actually makes a difference in a campaign. So you can see you've got context at 2%, how you target it 9%, recency 5%, all quite small numbers. Reach 22%, how strong your brand is 15%, but whopping 47% was down to the creative. Now this was a campaign that analysed 500 campaigns across all the different media types that they used. However, most small businesses only use digital. And here it gets a little bit more interesting in this piece of Nielsen research. When you just take digital advertising, 56% of a brand's sales lift from that digital advertising can be attributed to the quality of the creative. Now, Google. If you've used Google AdWords, you probably received some of their wonderful emails explaining all the different buttons you can push to create better results from your Google AdWords campaign. I apologise completely for those because that used to be my job to write them, so they're probably some of mine still in circulation. However, in spite of having all these bells and whistles and buttons to push, Google showed that the sort of the media part of it, so all the button pushing and where you put it and that side of things, only accounts for about 30% of the equation when it comes to successful campaigns. About 70% of the success is driven by the creative. That's pretty crazy, huh? You know, the people who spend their whole life on tech and algorithms and, you know, tweaking this setting and that setting to get a better result, even they admit that 70% of the success is delivered by the creative you put out there, not by what buttons you push. Another example. There was a study done of campaigns between 1996 and 2008 that found that creatively awarded campaigns, so campaigns that were recognised as the sort of most creatively original out of all the advertising campaigns that went into those awards, were 12 times as efficient as non-awarded ones. 12 times as efficient, that's pretty crazy. Like, can you imagine getting 12 times the leads? The same study was done again, 2008 to 2018, and whilst creative campaigns still outperformed non-creative campaigns, the effectiveness fell to just 4 times as much. This was attributed to a really short-term attitude amongst marketers, the fact that they were not sticking with a creative campaign for long enough for it to really sort of realize its true benefits. So for us as small business owners, this is all about finding a message, a vehicle, an approach that gives you enough scope and ease to be creative consistently over time. I know Sophie Davis spoke at this on the last one, and she's a really good example of somebody who has found herself a vehicle where she can be consistently creative over time. The stories that she tells on LinkedIn, whether it's being scared of cows or getting pissed off at her optician, they're really very creative ways of kind of bringing real life and marketing together and getting across quite a serious message in a very entertaining way. And because of the way that she does it, because she's just chosen to sort of relate her real life experiences to serious marketing messages, she's got huge scope to do that again and again over time. So it's a really good example of somebody just like us who's doing this really well. So there's no such thing as a natural creative. We are not born, we are made. So anyone who attended the session live will know that this is something that I'm really, really quite vehement about. So how do you get more creative? Start by thinking about where you're doing your creative work. If you do mostly logical stuff, get away from your desk. Go somewhere else, go for a walk, go out in the garden, go to a coffee shop. Just simply changing yourself away from your kind of normal environment where you do analytical, logical work, or even administrative work, will instantly free your brain up to think in a different way. We are creatures of habit. There is a reason that dieters pin notes to their fridges. It's because you think fridge, you think food. You know, you're conditioned to, if you're anywhere near the fridge, you're going in it to get food. So it's much the same. If your desk is used for non-creative purposes, your brain will typically shift into whatever mode it needs to be in when you're normally at your desk, be that kind of logical or administrative or even sort of strategic management. Second one, don't do it alone. Again, anyone who came to this session will know the benefit of working as a team. In creative agencies, we always work as a team. If you happen to be a team of one in your business, use your network, use the groups that you're part of, ask people whether they want to form a creativity pod. I know Julia is going to organise one. And really do lean on other people, because there's nothing that says that you have to have the best creative ideas about your business. That's not, like, it's not necessary that you have to be the one that comes up with the winning idea. It's not a competitive sport like that. It's about getting to the right idea. Then we have immersing yourself in fresh thinking and things that will actually sort of stimulate you to think differently. I think as small business owners, we tend to really focus in on, who else is in our space, who else is doing what we're doing, who else is serving the markets we're serving, and what are they doing? We get into this kind of bubble where, it's a little bit like, in your personal life, you've got your social media echo chamber where everyone's got the same opinions as you. It's really quite hard to have an original idea when you're surrounded by the same kind of ideas all the time. Next one is all about stealing from other people. And this kind of relates to exposing yourself to new ideas. If you see something that works really well for a completely different kind of business to yours, you can absolutely steal that and use it. All artists steal, you should too. It's a bit like having stabilizers on a bike when you first learn to ride. You need to give yourself a little bit of support until you're confident riding solo. And finally, it's all about the practice. You don't become a virtuoso piano player overnight, even though that's something that's kind of, it's a really creative thing, being kind of musically artistic, but you don't become brilliant straight away. You don't just pick up a guitar and automatically, you're the best guitarist in the world. And it's the same is true of any creative discipline. The more you do it, the more you burn sort of new neural pathways that over time get kind of more established, and it's easier and easier to do it. You become better at doing it and you do it more quickly. People look at people who are kind of creatives by profession and go, God, you make it look so easy. How do you come up with all those ideas? most of those people will have been in some kind of creative sort of occupation, or have been exposed to creative things, and that's sort of a path that they've decided to tread from quite an early age. I mean, when I look at myself, I've been writing creatively consistently since childhood, and commercially for about 18 years. So of course it's going to look easy now. I mean, if I'd been playing the piano for 18 years, I suspect I'd be pretty good at that, but I haven't, and I'm not. Thanks very much for listening. And for everyone who attended the live event, thank you so much for coming. Those of you who didn't, I hope this has all been sort of useful and makes sense, but I would really urge you to get out, have a go, practice, and if you ever want to run an idea past me, I'm here for you. Thanks very much.